Jai Shri Krishna, welcome to Mangalam. Today, we continue our journey through the Bhagavad Gita with chapter 1, verse 3. In the previous verse, we saw Duryodhan's anxiety surface as he observed the disciplined Pandavami. Now he turns to his teacher, Dronacharya, but instead of simply describing the battlefield, he carefully chooses his words. His intention is not only to inform, but also to influence, to remind his teacher of a past decision that has now become a present challenge. Can words become weapons? Have you ever noticed how fear often changes the way we speak to others? Today's verse reveals how an unsettled mind can use facts not to seek clarity, but to shape someone else's emotions. Pashyata Panduputrana Acharya Mehti Chamum Vyudha Drupad Putrin Tav Shishyan Dhimta. This verse means that Duryodhan is addressing his teacher, Dronacharya, asking him to look at the vast army of the sons of Pandu, which has been strategically arrayed by Dronacharya's own intelligent disciple, the son of Drupad. This moment marks the beginning of the great battle, where the complexities of loyalty, past decisions, and current fears converge on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Duryodhan's words are not just an observation, but a calculated move to stir the emotions of his preceptor. The weight of the words spoken in chapter 1, verse 3, reveals a deep psychological layers of a leader under pressure. When we look at this scene through the lens of a modern observer, we see Duryodhan attempting to provoke his teacher by reminding him of a past irony. Dronacharya had taught the art of war to Drishtadyumna, the son of Drupad, even though he knew that Drishtadyumna was destined to cause his downfall. By calling Drishtadyumna your intelligent disciple, Duryodhan is subtly taunting Dronacharya, suggesting that his own kindness and professional integrity as a teacher have now become a threat to their side. This verse highlights the duality of human action, how our past deeds, even those done out of a sense of duty or generosity, can sometimes manifest as challenges in the future. It captures the moment where strategic reality hits, and instead of taking personal responsibility, the ego begins to point fingers. Duryodhan is not looking at the Pandav army with the eyes of a warrior seeking victory. He's looking at them with the eyes of a man haunted by the capabilities of those he once underestimated or those who were nurtured by his own circles. The mighty army mentioned here is not just a collection of soldiers, but a representation of the consequences of past conflicts and alliances. This verse sets the stage for the entire Gita by showing how an unsettled mind views its surroundings with suspicion and strategic manipulation rather than clarity. It teaches us that when fear takes hold, even a master like Dronacharya is subjected to the petty insecurities of those he is trying to protect. The mention of Dhimta or intelligence in reference to the enemy commander shows that Duryodhan acknowledges the skill of the opposition, yet he uses that acknowledgement as a weapon to prick the conscience of his own teacher. As we move from the ancient battlefield to the modern professional and personal spheres, chapter 1, verse 3 offers a profound lesson in emotional intelligence and leadership. It asks us to examine how we respond when we feel threatened by the success or competence of others, especially when we feel that we or our allies have played a role in their growth. In our daily lives, we often encounter situations where a colleague we mentored or a friend we helped now stands as a competitor. The natural Duryodhan-like instinct is to become cynical or to remind others of the mistakes they made in helping that person. However, true wisdom lies in recognizing that our role as a teacher or mentor is to empower, and if that empowerment creates a formidable peer, it is a testament to our own skill, not a cause for insecurity. This verse also speaks to the danger of projecting our anxiety. When we point out the strengths of the opposition to our team members in a way that is meant to guilt-trip them, we erode the very foundations of trust. Instead of focusing on the mighty army outside, we must learn to calm the mighty storm within. By observing Duryodhan's behavior, we can learn what not to do. Do not let your past insecurities dictate your current communication style. Whether you are a manager, a parent, or a student, Remember that pointing out the strategic advantages of others should be done for learning, not for manipulation. Embracing the reality of the situation without bitterness is the first step toward a peaceful mind and an effective strategy. A senior manager who feels insecure when a junior they trained is promoted and then reminds the team of the junior's early mistakes to downplay their current success. A business owner facing a new competitor in the market and spending more time analyzing the competitor's strengths with anxiety rather than focusing on their own team's growth and strategy. Before we conclude, take a moment to reflect. When you're under pressure, do your words inspire trust, or do they subtly blame, manipulate, or create guilt? Are your conversations driven by wisdom or by the insecurities you're carrying within? In the next verse, Duryodhan begins naming the great warriors standing in the Pandav army. We'll discover why he carefully lists their strengths and what this reveals about the mindset of someone facing a challenge. If today's reflection brought you a little more clarity, we invite you to continue this journey with us. Until next time, may wisdom guide your thoughts, compassion guide your actions, and dharma guide your life. Jai Shri Krishna.